me 1,000,000,000 gold pieces if you want to pass.
We don't have that kind of dough.
There once was an ogre with a wish, who had all the grace of a fish. His motley crew will pay me my due, or all this will end with a...
Squish?
Movie tie-in games have a bad reputation, sometimes rightfully so. You don't really see as many these days, and those you do are pretty bad cash grabs. Those of us who grew up in the 2000s know just how fun and memorable many of these games were. This was a time where movie tie-in games were a huge deal for publishers. If you loved a movie, chances are you could play a game based on it. For Activision, Shrek was a huge property and one of the best games they ever released, and one of my favorites is the Shrek 2 video game. That movie is one of my top animated films of all time. It's the perfect sequel to an already incredible film. It continues the narrative, builds upon it, evolves the characters. It has many iconic scenes, nails mature humor without overdoing it, and has one of the best villains with the fairy Godmother. It's DreamWorks at its best, and everything later Shrek sequels would lack. So I was excited to get back into the game. It's been many years, and you know how nostalgia can be. Sometimes what we thought was amazing actually isn't. However, the Shrek 2 video game is still surprisingly good. Though that all depends on which one you played. The Game Boy Advance, PC, and console versions are all different. While I have nostalgia for the others, if you're going to play one, it's the console version you need to play. It was so popular, Activision even re-released the game on PC as Shrek 2 Team Action. You can see just how much passion the developers had in making this game. Something that shouldn't be as good as it is shows us that when there's enough care and thought put in, a great movie game can happen. Shrek has an incredible cast of characters, and it's ever apparent in the game. You have your typical characters like Shrek, Donkey, and Puss in Boots, but there's also Gingerbread Man and Big Bad Wolf. Even new characters like the amazing Lil Red. She's very sassy and isn't afraid to throw an apple in the face of Fairy Godmother. Then there's Fairy. She only appears in one level. She's a pointless character, but she certainly has an attitude you don't want to mess with. One of the main reasons why Shrek 2 is so good is the 4-player co-op. Every character in your team has their own ability. So you might like playing as Shrek who can lift items, but you'll need Fiona to slow down time so you can capture as many fairies as possible. Or maybe you need Puss in Boots to tightrope walk to get to places no one else ever could. Every character has a purpose, and it's fun to swap between them on the fly to see how you can use these abilities to overcome your enemies. And thankfully, your AI companions aren't entirely dumb. Useful, but expect them to die a lot. Through this, the game takes you through the basic beats of the Shrek 2 storyline. Starting in Shrek's swamp, they need to get ready to travel to far, far away, but Shrek needs snacks for the road, so it's smashing innocent snails for their eyeballs. But it gives us a chance to fully explore his swamp. Shrek's swamp in the game is a bit more fantasy-like than grotesque as the films want it to be, though any chance to attack Robin Hood and his merry men is a win in my book. Sure, the game's a brawler, but there's mini-games, platforming, puzzles to solve, so much variety that every experience is fresh, like smacking chickens into a pot of boiling soup. It's unexpected, and I can't believe Shrek was okay with Lil Red just happily cooking away right in front of his house. Or the hero time moments, a chance for individual characters to shine. There's a throwback to Fiona singing and exploding birds with the power of her voice, Donkey and Dragon saving Fiona in the onion carriage, Shrek knocking thugs unconscious and locking them away. These minigame moments play to the strengths of every character. Each of these levels have a ton to explore. It's not just a linear path, there's always more to discover. Freeing the 7 dwarves from capture, collecting magic beans and golden eggs, every level has a number of tasks to complete. Majority optional, but completing them will unlock screenshots of the film and bonus levels. Exploring a place like Far Far Away is a dream come true. It might be a sliver of what we see in the film, but I can't be the only one who was mesmerized by its glitz and glamour. As a child, I loved replaying this level, running around the street and taking in all the detail. And the developers must have loved Grand Theft Auto because if you cause too much chaos, your notoriety can go up. It doesn't really do much, just guards attacking you, but it's an amusing nod in something like a Shrek game. When the fight against Puss in Boots happens, it could have been this typical boss fight, but instead is turned into a rhythm game. It's moments like these that remind me why I love this game. Going from this to a level like Jack and Jill's farm with giant tomatoes and carrots is something you never expected to see. You have the three little pigs in charge and all hell breaks loose. Having to find a needle in a haystack, protecting a new growing beanstalk because one of the pigs cut down the original, the chaos fits the three pigs, and in general, the game really nails the personalities of these characters. Just like the details of levels, the transition from Fairy Godmother's lobby, smashing the hell out of everything in it, to breaking in deeper into her factory, it's more than what we see in the movie. The developers could have easily reused assets across the whole game, but each level stands out on its own. The tone, the atmosphere, the use of color. We can go from the bright greens of Shrek's swamp to scary trees, witches, and bats of a spooky forest, or the gloominess and isolation of the prison Shrek is taken to. Once there, it's time for a prison break. Turning spotlights off, avoiding guards, bypassing security, minor stealth elements. Though, like I said earlier, we have the one and only appearance of Fairy. You can easily go through this level without ever playing as her, and she's never seen again. There's this belief that Fairy was added late in the game's development, and I can see it. She has no hero time, no true special ability. She isn't the kind of interesting character people want to play as. Her inclusion is a simple one and done. This prison break gave me one of the most frustrating hero times out of the entire game. To free Shrek and Donkey, Big Bad Wolf needs to get a key. That key is at the top of this tower, so platforming, bombs, and moving floors. It shouldn't be this difficult, but I had to do this way too many times. So with Shrek and Donkey now turned sexy, instead of being two separate playable characters, they're lumped into one. It's a bit awkward, but not the worst. Though I will say that human Shrek is a bit creepy, his bulging eyes never seem to blink. Whereas in the film, Fairy Godmother is cunning and deceiving, in the game they made her evil, angry, and destructive. This Fairy Godmother isn't afraid to take action against Shrek or anyone else who gets in her way, going as far as kidnapping a sleeping Snow White just to lure Shrek into danger. But of course, this doesn't stop Shrek from getting to Fiona. The best part of Shrek 2 was Mongo. You have this giant gingerbread man that shouldn't be possible, yet here he is. Only in the game he doesn't feel as giant as he does in the movie. And the level basically consists of Shrek protecting Mongo and sometimes requiring his help with the aid of Gingerbread Man's cookies. It's chaotic at best, sometimes frustrating, though I wish there was more destruction, or we could control Mongo like we can on the PC. Once we get to the finale, like tons of other boss battles, Fairy Godmother doesn't fight for herself, at least at first. After waves of enemies, we get to face her ourselves. It's not particularly difficult, just avoid her spells and attack her when she's down. It's simple, but certainly better than throwing food at her as you do on the PC. Just like that, Fairy Godmother is defeated, everyone lives happily ever after, and the game ends. So I play this classic Xbox game on the Xbox 360, and while it made it more accessible, it also helped to show more of its flaws and performance issues. Though this never stopped the game from being fun. Shrek 2 is a better game than most movie tie-in games allow it to be. The game has aged, the graphics are outdated, but this was 2004, and it's still pretty solid to play. Even aimed at a general audience, it doesn't feel dumbed down. It never feels like a game for children, so grab a friend or three and you're bound to have a great time playing. Shrek 2 set the bar for future Shrek games. This and Shrek Super Slam are the peak of Shrek video games. When it came to Shrek the Third and Shrek Forever After, they were disappointments and felt like simple cash grabs. What are your memories on the Shrek 2 video game? Was it part of your childhood? Let us know down in the comments. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified on future content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.